All right. Welcome to another edition of the Franklin Community High School Career Exploration Project. We have with us today Kristin Nelson. She is a speech language pathologist in the Franklin Community School Corporation. One of my coworkers, obviously, volunteering to help and show the kids kind of the inner workings of school. May be something that we don't always see at the forefront, but is definitely very important for all of our students here. So, Kristin, first of all, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So why don't you just describe your role, kind of what you do, and what kind of you had prior that may have helped you with this?
Okay. So my current assignment is I have Franklin Community High School, Franklin Community Middle School, and then I also see the Inspire students typically at Franklin College, except this year with COVID, it's at Earlywood, but that's another program that for students who are in the special education program and graduate from high school, but then get to pursue more after high school. And that does some on-the-job training and that sort of thing. But my overall role, is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah, just kind of what you would describe your job as.
So I work a lot at this level. I work a lot with students with special needs, lack of communication skills of some sort. They might be considered nonverbal. They might be verbal and they just need some help with some social skills. Some of the students on this autism spectrum, I see a lot of those students as well. And I do help a little bit with articulation, which would be like R errors or S errors or something like that. But at this level, that's not as common as it is in the elementary level. But my biggest, I think, would be the social skill portion of it. And it's my favorite portion too. So it's a lot of fun to work with the students and helping them with their social skills and how awkward they might be. And
Are you saying that like kids are awkward? Is that
just like me? I'm also awkward.
Oh.
No, yeah, yes. All students can be awkward, and as can some of us adults. But it's a lot of fun.
Good. So as far as training, what kind of training and education did you have to get to this role?
It's required to have a master's degree. So I did go to school for 6 years and got my master's degree at Ball State University.
Okay. And then what led you to this? Is this something that you've always wanted to do, or did you start off in a different path and this kind of got switched?
So I was sure as punch that I wanted to do deaf education when I graduated from high school. So I didn't go too far off differently, although I'm not fluent in sign language. I wish I were. I'm not. But I would, if you're interested in that, I would highly encourage you to pursue that because that is a huge need.
Yeah.
However, as far as I went thinking deaf ed, and then I quickly decided that wasn't my gig. It was not going to be my gig. And I took a class that I was required in my first or second year of college. It was called phonetics, and it was writing, the sounds of the words phonetically. And I loved it. And I said, what can I ask my instructor what I could do with that? And she's the one who led me to speech. It's just very cool. You don't have to know what you want to do for the rest of your life when you graduate from high school. It's okay.
Yeah.
I always say that, and just go get your feet wet, explore and talk to everybody, talk to your instructors, talk to your peers while you're at college, if that's something you're interested in doing. Just kind of talk to people. And it's very cool to hear different people's stories about how they fell into the career that they have chosen.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting because like you said, you didn't veer too far off of where you originally thought. Was there something about, like, I guess it would be just helping with communication that drew you to that at an early age, or was it just you have no idea? It's just kind of the way you were.
I guess people consider me an empath, so I just love people. And that is a big part of this job, is you have to be a people person. If you're not a people person, this is not going to be the gig for you. But it is a lot of, there wasn't any one thing that happened in my life that pulled me in that direction. I just felt very passionate about it. I also volunteered a lot with Special Olympics, and I just really enjoyed the students and the athletes at that. I've just always had a passion for those particular people in my life. So they're a lot of fun. And I guess I should say, I did grow up, Candy Miller, Mrs. Miller, and I grew up together, and her uncle had Down syndrome.
Okay.
So I was exposed, and he was pretty high functioning, but he added so much laughter and joy to our lives growing up. And he probably definitely had more of an impact than I realized.
Yeah. So what, I guess, what are some of the things, like your favorite things, obviously probably working with kids and seeing breakthroughs and stuff. What are some of the things that you don't like? Some of the cons about your job?
Paperwork. So much paperwork. And then we all are also required to do evaluations every so often. And I'm a very, very in tune with my relationships. I love building relationships with the students and making an impact and having a connection. But during evaluations, you just don't get to do that. And it has to be standard language that you use, and so boring. Not my favorite. So I would say those. And then I put, let me think. I put something else down.
So what are some of the things you like?
Oh, I just love the students. If I could just hang out with the students all day, every day. At the high school in Mrs. Cooper's room, I could hang out there all day. I just love the kids in there. And there's one student in particular that's been just verbalizing. And there's a difference between verbalizing and vocalizing. So he's actually saying words, and he hasn't done that for years. He's 16 or 17 now. And he's just been going crazy, talking more single words, but it's just so awesome. It's just, we celebrate every word, and you kind of take advantage or not take advantage.
Take it for granted.
Thank you. Take for granted, that we're able to speak and communicate so fluently without effort. And then these kids have worked 17 years to just say one word. It's a big deal. So kind of fun.
That's awesome. That's very cool. And yeah, it's amazing to me the amount of paperwork that goes into special education, referrals, any of that stuff that you have. That would definitely be a con for anyone, I think.
Absolutely. Unless that's your gig. If that's your gig, man, then you'll be set, but you wouldn't like the other part. So.
Yeah. So as far as just personality types, what type of personality and person do you think would really kind of excel at your job, and what type of person may struggle a little bit?
Definitely a people person, like I mentioned, would excel. It's imperative that and it's not just students. You have to build rapport with staff. And when you're in so many buildings, it kind of tears you apart. You're not in one building all the time. It's hard to build that rapport if you're only there one day a week or whatever it is. But it's really important to build it with the staff as well, because you're going to be emailing and asking for information from teachers. The students who I don't see directly, it's called consultation, and I just consult with the teachers. How are they doing on this goal in your class? How can you make any statements? And the teachers don't know me. Half of them don't even have a clue who I am, but they're so amazing. And always respond with information and to help me adjust my goal if necessary, or help me help them. I can say, okay, well, maybe a visual would help that student or whatever. But that is a huge, huge part of it.
Yeah. So as far as someone who wants to go into your field, preparation for that, what would you recommend? And are there any classes in high school that they could take that would help them out as well?
Like I touched on earlier, sign language it's not, you don't have to have it, but it's a huge help. Mm-hmm. So if that is offered, I would totally recommend that. Another one, the biggest thing that I can think of would be to volunteer.
Mhm.
If there are places that you can volunteer where it's helping others and that's something you're passionate about, is helping other people, just kind of get your feet wet and kind of explore the different areas that you can help people. There's just millions of places that need volunteers. And it's just a cool way to figure out what you're all about and what you're made of and what you want to do. So that's what I would say as far as that. I did kickapoo daycare or whatever it's called now.
Kids camp.
Kids camp, that's it. I was one of the very first counselors way back when. And that kind of prepared me, even though we weren't working with children with special needs necessarily. And I don't work with just students with special needs. I want to clarify that. I do work with general ed students as well, some as whether it be social skills or just articulation, but I did want to put that plug in here. But that helped. And then I did in high school, I think there's a group now that's kind of mirrors what I did, but I was in the Hope class at Franklin High School.
Yeah, I was in that too.
Were you? Awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So it was helping our peers effectively. What is the mirror group of now? Isn't there a compass or something?
Well, we have a peer mentors group.
Okay.
But that's more for freshmen. So with ours, we would go to the elementary school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And we did that too. Right.
That was in the second year.
Paired up with Anyway, that was a very cool thing. So just volunteering, being active, and just involve and include yourself into as many different areas as you can. You'll learn a lot more about yourself and what you're passionate about. Yeah,
definitely. So last question, general advice for high school students, just overall advice.
Oh, it's a big one. There's so many things I would say. One is just always fearlessly be yourself. There's only one of you. So be yourself and own it and accept it and be okay with it. And that's kind of a big one that I wish someone would have told me in high school. And the other thing would be just, this is one little dot on the map of your entire life. High school's not the end all of everything. There's so many more exciting things out there. You might have a bump in the road and a bad day, but it doesn't mean it's the end of everything. There's usually, I would say, when you're going through a growth period, you have to go through a rough patch to get to the other side. And anybody who's going through having a tough journey right now or had in the past or will be in the future, we all will go through them several times. I've held on to the fact that this is exciting and I'm like, this actually is kind of cool. This stinks right now, but it's kind of cool because I know there's really, really good things on the other side. So
yeah, absolutely. You're actually so I just had another interview a little bit ago and the person said that, like the same thing, basically like be true to yourself and so that's very good. Kristin, once again, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time today.
Well, thanks for having me.
And this is Kristin Nelson. She is the speech language pathologist, one of the speech language pathologists here at Franklin Community Schools.
Knock